Welcome, everybody, to Tim's Vinyl Confessions. I'm Tim Derling, and with me, returning special guest, Ches. How you doing, sir?
Great. Hey, Tim. Hey, everybody. Thanks for having me again, Tim.
I had to have Ches on this one because we are talking about his favorite band, AC/DC. And if anybody follows Ches on his social media, his username is some Thunderstruck ZZ or something like that. So, I mean, that's a pretty good giveaway that we're talking with a major AC/DC fan. When did you first get into the band?
Oh, I would say it was like I would say I always heard of them, but 1983 that fall, I remember buying my first cassette, "Let There Be Rock," and it just kind of took off from there. And then I just started buying album after album, the Bond, the Brian, and then kept up with new releases. So it's when I bought that first album. You heard the songs on the radio like everyone else did, but that's when it kind of really started. When I just started hearing their albums in full. Yeah.
Cool. All right. So, I mean, obviously, this was not an easy thing to, narrow down because, yeah, they got so many classic songs. And they're one of those bands, I guess Zeppelin would be another one where you hear a lot of the songs on the radio, they were never really hits, but everybody knows them because they just keep getting played. And
Yeah, definitely.
so I'm curious what Ches has come up with. I'm sure he's curious for my choices. So we're going to get started with some honorable mentions because we had to throw some honorables, give some leeway somehow, because like I said, there are so many good songs. So, Ches, what are your honorable mentions for AC/DC?
Yeah, so tough because I just could have gone on forever just on the honorables, but I did pick three. So one of them I picked "Thunderstruck" from Razor's Edge. I was just such a when I first heard that song on the radio, it was just like such a return to form. Not that they ever really lost their form, but it was like that big anthemic, and it still pumps me up to this day. So love hearing that song. Second honorable mention from Highway to Hell, "Walk All Over You." I just the Mutt Lang production on that with the gang vocals, and just the guitar on there and Bond, and just love that song. So it's such a great one from Highway to Hell. And third honorable mention, I'm gonna go "Shoot the Thrill" from Back in Black. I just love the pacing of that song. Just a great driving song. It's got a good rhythm to it and a good riff, and Brian sings great on that one. So tough to pick just three, but I'm gonna go with those as my top three honorable mentions.
Cool. Well, just spoiler alert, everyone. I didn't pick Thunderstruck, but I do have a thought about that. Thunderstruck is I still hear that all the time at local sporting events with kids that weren't even born when that song came out. And when that song came out, I would have been in grade 11. They were an old band then, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that song has just stood the test of time. But as many times as I've heard it, I always try to put myself in the mindset. Imagine hearing this for the first time. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, definitely, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So cool, very cool. So my honorable mentions, I'm gonna go with probably if not the first AC/DC song I ever heard, it's definitely the first video I saw. It's well, it might not even be the first video, but it's definitely the first new AC/DC song I remember hearing and seeing, and that's "Who Made Who"
Yeah,
from
yeah,
well, the album, but basically this is the soundtrack to the Stephen King film Maximum Overdrive. I think it's a cool little song. It's one of their better later 80s songs. I think it still gets a lot of play today. It's very melodic, very catchy. That's definitely one of mine. Next one, it's an AC/DC staple. And I'm a little surprised it didn't make my top 10, but Dirty Deeds Done Dirt Cheap. It's such a cool song. It's
yeah.
got so much attitude. Bond sings it just, he very thespian in a way that he would get into character with these,
Oh yeah, awesome.
the types of people that they would write about. I just think it's a really cool song, the way it's all put together. And uh,
Killer. Yeah.
yeah. And my last honorable mention is the second track on this album, Girls Got Rhythm from Highway to Hell. This one just grooves. Soon as it comes on, you're bobbing your head, and I love it. It's always been a favorite. So those are my three honorable mentions. So yeah, this is going to be interesting. So let's get started with the I guess the proper list. So Ches, your number 10.
Okay, so for my number 10, I'm gonna go to this album here, Black Ice, and I'm gonna pick "Rock and Roll Dream" off this one right here. I just love that song. I love the melody. I love a lot of this album. Like I just love this album. But I love that song. It's mid pace and then it picks up. I think it's got a great melody. I've got that cool little guitar bridge in the middle. Brian sounds fantastic on it, and kind of a deeper cut on this album. But I'm gonna go with Rock and Roll Dream. So really like this one off the album. That's my number 10.
Very cool. That's the one time I got to see AC/DC in concert was 2009 on the Black Ice
Mhm.
tour. That was
Yeah.
a really, really good show. I
Mhm.
don't think they did a few songs from that album. I don't think they did that one.
Yeah, deep
Um,
cut there. Yeah,
so my number 10 is the title song from Let There Be Rock.
nice. Yeah,
This is a marathon song live, and it's one of those songs where you really appreciate, the simplicity, but yet the stamina of Phil Rudd, because he's got to keep a steady beat for a long, long time, especially live while Angus makes his way out into the crowd. Like, what they usually do, like 11, 12-minute version
yeah.
of Let There
Mhm.
Be Rock live. But even on the album, it's a pretty long song. I don't have the track listings. I don't think the CD has track listings in them, but it's a pretty long song. But it's cool. It's one thing I liked about Mutt slipped
Yeah.
there. Bond's lyrics is that he was a storyteller, and
Mhm.
this, it's the origin of rock and roll. But it's a cool song. The video is really funny. They're at a church and they've got
Yeah.
halos. Yeah, I love the early Australian
Oh,
videos. We'll talk
great.
about that
Yeah.
later. So that my number 10, Let There Be Rock.
Awesome. Great choice. Okay, so my number 9, I'm going to show a cassette for this one. You already mentioned it. I'm going to go with Who Made Who. I'm going to show the cassette here. And I just think it's everything I love about AC/DC. It's melodic, it's heavy, it's got such a great chorus, it's fun, puts you in a good mood, and pumps you up at the same time. And I remember when it came out, we were kind of like a little disappointed with Fly on the Wall, even though I really liked that album, but it wasn't a big success that the other ones were. And then this came out of nowhere. I remember hearing that song on the radio and they were doing the soundtrack, and it was just like it got them back in the good graces of everybody instantly. But I just love that song. And funny thing is that I think I love it more today than I did back then, and I really liked it then. It's one of those ones I've heard a million times, and now when I'm hearing it, I'm liking it more for some reason. It's just even resonating more with me. So yeah, Who Made Who off the soundtrack there.
The funny thing about that, and I just thought of this. I read an interview with Malcolm Young, and he talked about the riff, I guess the rhythm to that song. He talks about, the movies about cars and stuff coming to life. And so he wanted the riff to sound like a horn.
Yeah,
Uh, uh.
I
It's
love
that
it.
kind of, it's so simple. It's just
Yeah,
kind of, it's silly, but it's cool at the same time. Um, my number 9, it's the most recent song I've got on here. Although, I was really thinking about picking something off Power Up because I really like that album. I still think that's a really strong album. I'm glad that they're finally touring it.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, so this is the most recent one I've got from 1995's Ball Breaker, Hail Caesar. I
Oh,
think this is such a cool song. Um, doesn't get talked about that much, and I don't know if I don't know if it's made any set lists after the Ball Breaker tour. I know you could see it on the No Bull Home video, which is really cool. That's a really good
awesome.
set.
Yeah,
But yeah, Hail Caesar, love that one.
yeah. It's got that great video that goes with it. I love that.
Yeah,
Angus going through time there. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
Great choice. Great song. Yeah.
yeah.
So you mentioned Power Up. That I got a song at number 8, and from Power Up, and their most recent album. And I'm gonna go through the midst of time. That song there. I just love that song. Sounding a little bit different for them, but so melodic. And to me, it was like I was just so happy when this came out, like all of us, and it was so good. And when I saw the video for that song, and then when you're watching them play, like it's like a homage also to Malcolm and Bon, and they're showing them in that place, and they're singing that song with that great melody, and then they're showing the pictures of the band like through the midst of time, and they're also paying homage to them in that great scene at the end where they're showing Malcolm and Bon. But I think it's great because it's showing like after all this time and everything they've gone through, like they can still bring it. And to me, like that could have been a hit. If they were going to get played, like modern AC/DC songs get played on the radio. Like I've never heard a Power Up song on the radio. I hear all the other ones, but
Yeah.
I just thought, wow, they can still bring that hit song there. It just sounded a little bit different, but just a great melody, and so great that everything it brought Brian back into the band after his issues with his hearing. So I just love that song. It's become one of my favorites over the years. So yeah, from Power Up there.
Yeah, it's great. It's a great return to form too. Yeah, really strong. My number eight's another AC/DC staple, and this is the only one of these CDs that I have. I'm
Nice.
going with "It's a Long Way to the Top" if you want to rock and roll. This is the Australian TNT album, which
Awesome.
if anybody doesn't know, if you look at the song titles on there, it's pretty much what North America and most of the world knows as high voltage. I
Yeah.
think that one, two, three. I think other than School Days, it's got, it's the same, basically the same album.
Yeah.
So,
Mhm.
but yeah, it's a long way to the top. Again, another story song. It's got the bagpipes, which you wouldn't
Oh,
think would go with
yeah.
hard rock, but it does. And that's Bon and the Young Brothers honoring where they came from. They emigrated to Australia from Scotland, and I just it's a lot of people in bands, like I've heard Joe Elliott say, like that's the perfect song to describe what it's like when
Yeah.
you're in a band, you're on the road, you're on a bus somewhere, and you're driving all night long, and that's what it's like. So that's
Yeah.
my number
Really
eight.
awesome. Yeah. So my number seven, I'm gonna go to this album here, Flick of the Switch, and I'm gonna go with Nervous Shakedown. Such a heavy song from a very heavy album, much raw production. They produced it themselves. The famous story, they had Mutt Lang for the three, and they decided wanted a little bit more raw, stripped down, and it's kind of like a cult favorite. It's grown in stature, this album, and I just love that song. It's so heavy, and I just love that thumping riff, and then the way Brian sings it, and it's from an album of great songs. Like that one's my favorite off there. So, Nervous Shakedown from Flick of the Switch.
Great, great, great
Mhm.
choice.
Yeah.
My number seven is going to an album I've already talked about, from Highway to Hell, Shot Down in Flames.
Oh,
I mean, this is a great album all the way through. I mean, this is a really, really strong, strong album of good songs. But Shot Down in Flames has always been one of my favorites from this album. And one thing, I've said this many times, but it's the way that it all worked out with, Bon Scott dying and Brian taking over, pretty amazing comeback that they made. But I noticed that on Highway to Hell, and I have to think Mutt Lang has a lot to do with it, but Bon was getting better and better as a vocalist. Like he was really singing really well.
oh
And
yeah.
there's lots of examples of that on Highway to Hell. But yeah, Shot Down in Flames, it's super catchy. Um, yeah, great song.
Oh, love that one. Yeah, fantastic. So I guess number six, I'm going to show another cassette for this one. So I'm going to go from this album here, Power Age, and I'm going with Sin City. I have always loved that song. Just the menacing riff on it. Again, the Bon and such great lyrics and the way he sings them, and just that melody going down to Sin City. And always have loved that song. And again, like this album here is just like every song fantastic, but I love that one, Sin City. So that's my number six from Power Age.
We're kind of in sync here. My number six is the title song from
Ah,
Flick of the
nice.
Switch. I think this is an underrated, overlooked AC/DC album. It eventually sold 1 million copies, but none of the songs are radio staples. I could have gone with Nervous Shakedown. I could have gone with Rising Power. I
Oh,
could have
yeah.
gone with Badlands. Like there's a lot of great songs on here, but I kept it real simple and I went with the title song because you could put that on and people are like, oh yeah, it's AC/DC. Um, but yeah, for some reason that one that's an overlooked one. So
Yeah.
um, but yeah, my number six, Flick of the Switch.
Awesome. Great choice. Okay, number five. You had already mentioned it. The title track from Let There Be Rock. I'm going with Let There Be Rock. I remember the first time I heard this song, I just how fast it was, how heavy it was, and just you said it perfectly. The storytelling of Bond, and just that part, like "Let there be light, let there be guitars, drums," and then Angus just going to work on that song, and yeah, they always play that longer version in concert, but I just remember like how fast and heavy that was when I heard this. And again, I didn't hear this until I bought that original cassette back in 1983. That's the first time I heard any of these songs. And I just wanted to buy an AC/DC cassette. And that's the first one. I went to the music store, went through the rack of cassettes and saw that. And when I heard that, it's fantastic. So I've always loved that song. And yeah, Let There Be Rock from Let There Be Rock.
So yeah, we are getting to a little bit of repetition, but yeah, great minds think alike because my number five is Sin City.
Oh,
Um,
nice.
Sin
Yeah.
City is it's such a cool song. Again, it's the storytelling, but
Yeah.
it's that riff, it's that slamming riff, and I kind of equate Power Age and Flick of the Switch as the two AC/DC albums that if you're tired of hearing all the radio staples,
Yes.
you want to listen to some AC/DC, Power Age is the Bon album, and Flick of
Yep.
the Switch is the Brian album, because they're both really good, and there are songs on there that make you wonder, why haven't I heard these a million times? Sin City probably gets the most play, I mean, compared to Flick of the Switch, but it's a really cool song. There's back in the 90s there was a series of tribute albums that came out, and there were a lot of the same artists doing them. One of the better ones was an AC/DC one called Thunderbolt,
Yeah.
and essentially it's Great White. It's Jack Russell and Mark Kendall. I think Bobby Blotzer's on drums. They do a great version of Sin City. It's one of my favorites from that tribute album, but it's uh it's such a great song, and it's those two albums are like ripe for rediscovering,
Yeah.
and just remind yourself why you like the band in the first place. If you're getting hammered with all the standard songs, great as they are, this is a chance for you to hear their peak, of their powers, and get to hear what them doing what they do best, but on songs you haven't heard a million times. So yeah,
Oh yeah.
since
Yeah. Perfectly said. Those are two perfect albums. Like if you want to hear something fresh, but it's not new. It's always been there. Love that. Yeah. Great
yeah,
one. Yeah. Okay, awesome. So we're at number 4, and I am going to show another cassette for this one. I'm going to High Voltage, and I'm going to go with Livewire. I just love how moody that song is. Again, Bon, how he sings it, it just, and then Angus, how he picks up that part in the middle there. I've always loved the pacing of that song, the moodiness, again, the storytelling. But I always thought that was such a cool song. And yeah, so I'm going with Livewire from North American version of High Voltage, but it is on the Australian one there, of course, too. Yeah.
cool, yeah. um I mean, just as soon as that one note bass line comes on, you know
Oh,
exactly what it is, right? It's
yeah.
so cool. Number four is a song that they do this a lot live, but I just think it's a really cool song. I'm gonna go with Bad Boy Boogie
Oh,
from
yes. Yeah.
Let There Be Rock. This is, I mean, technically it's not a boogie song.
No.
It's a
No.
pretty heavy song. This is a pretty heavy album for
Oh, yeah.
1977.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like the changes in it, like the middle of it where Angus is just playing that one note and the rest of the band stops and starts around him, and it's just cool. It's a cool song.
Yeah. Yeah. Fantastic. What a great choice. Love that one. Yeah. Okay. So we're up to 3, and I'm going back to Power Age, and I am going with Down Payment Blues.
Right.
Such a cool song. Probably if you don't have this album, it's a song you probably never got played on the radio. Again, another cool bass line there with Cliff coming into the band, but the lyrics and the way Bon is singing them is just talking about somebody down on their luck, and then it's they bill after bill and they can't afford it, and you can feel the pain about the guy that he's singing about, right? And it's such a cool riff that comes in there, and again, I just love that song. Again, when I heard bought this album and heard that for the first, like never heard that on the radio. So, oh my gosh, it's like these great songs are buried on these albums. So yeah, yeah, Down Payment Blues off of Power Age, such a cool song.
And Bond could do that. He could sing about, essentially, being hard up and broke,
Yeah,
and it
yeah,
didn't ring false. You're like, oh, listen to these rich rock stars. There's always something very working class about AC/DC. So yeah, good choice. Um, my number three is a song that you've already mentioned. It's always been on an album that's just, pretty much the whole album gets radio play. It's always been one of my favorites. Shoot to Thrill
Oh yeah.
from this is actually an older Canadian version of Back in Black because the cover's a little bit different. But
Yeah.
I mean, Shoot to Thrill is I can't really put my finger on it, no pun intended. But I don't know what it is about that song, but I love it. It's always been one of my favorites. I love the breakdown in the middle of it where it's just like the bass drum and the toms and it's the only time where like Brian Johnson's vocals are different on Back in Black compared to what
Yeah.
came after.
Mhm.
And there's a part in that middle section where he sounds just like John Fogerty to me.
Oh yeah,
Where he goes,
yeah.
yay! Like, and it
Yeah.
just sounds like John. It's like he for a split second he turns into John Fogerty. But it's a
Yeah.
great song. And it does get a lot of radio airplay, but I never get tired of it.
Oh, me either. Oh, such a great choice. Yeah. Okay, so we're down to two, and for number two, I am going to Highway to Hell. I'm going Touch Too Much. I'm when I heard that song for the first time when I bought this as a cassette back in the day, that opening guitar riff and that melodic, the melodic chorus that Bon is singing is just, and then that bridge in the middle there, and it's just is always been one of my favorite songs, and such a great song. And again, great production by Mutt on this album. But I've always loved that song. Like Touch Too Much. Like we'll never get tired of hearing that song. Love it.
Yeah, it's a great song. And the episode that Sarah and I did where we talked about Mutt Lang, I picked that as an early example of
Mhm.
the Mutt Lang background vocals. You can
Yeah.
hear it. You can hear it
Oh my
on
gosh.
the
Yeah.
breakdown after the solo. It's like before Def Leppard perfected that sound.
Mhm.
Here's AC/DC doing it, and yeah, I mean they're just the albums that Mutt produced. They're just perfect sounding albums. They just sound there's not a thing out of place on them.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just fantastic. Yeah. He did such a great job. Yeah.
So we're going to continue with that theme. The next one is probably it's probably the biggest song of all of my choices. It definitely is. I got to go with Back in Black. I mean, to me, Back in Black is a song I can't get tired of. I think it's just a perfect rock song. The way that everything's locked in. Um, the drum fills are never flashy, but always just the right thing at the right time, and yet it's not easy. Like I've heard so many people think they can play Back in Black and they can't. It's complicated, especially
Yeah.
what the bass is doing. There's a lot of subtlety there. You've got to be really good to play as uh to be able to hold back like AC/DC does and that's why like everybody says AC/DC plays this simple rock and roll, and yet if a band comes out and sounds like AC/DC, usually people say what a lame AC/DC cover band, a
Mhm.
sound-alike band. There's only one,
Yeah.
and when they get into a groove, there's nothing like it. So, and
Yeah.
Back in Black is just one of those evergreen songs that will always get heard somewhere.
Yeah. Great choice. Yeah. Awesome. Okay, so I think that brings us to one,
Yep,
and I'm going back to that album also from Back in Black. What has always been my favorite song, the title, not the title song, but the leadoff song, "Hell's Bells." "Hell's Bells" has always been my favorite AC/DC song. I'm showing the gold 50.
I was
Uh,
just going to ask, what have you got there?
yeah, they just released these this year. They re-released the catalog on vinyl, and they are on gold vinyl, so they're celebrating their 50th year. They got these 50th year stickers on them, come with like a print inside, so they're all on gold vinyl. So I already had them all, but just kind of bought a couple here and there, just because it's AC/DC and it's new. But my gosh, like when I heard that riff for Hell's Bells the first time, like it was so cool sounding and different, and then the bells at the beginning, and then when you heard the story, it's like it was an homage to Bond, right? The whole title, the black cover, and the bells were the ringing of Bond. He was not there anymore, and then to see that song played in concert, like the spectacle it is when those bells start singing and that massive AC/DC bell comes down. I've seen AC/DC 3 times. It's still, goosebumps when that happens, right? And it's just like the whole thing kind of goes together. But I have always loved that song. Has always been my favorite. And again, Hell's Bells from Back in Black, number one for me.
Awesome. I mean, there really are no uh, wrong answers. Just curious, Ches, when did you first see them? What tour?
My first tour was a Fly on the Wall tour. That would have been 1985, fall of 1985. And then I saw them on the Stiff Upper Lip tour. I saw them on that one. And then the third time I saw them was on their Rocker Bus tour. And what made me happy about that show Brian sang at. And so it was like the ones like a couple of months later when the hearing issues came up. So
Right.
I was so glad that I got to see a show that he was singing on before the issues became so bad. And then you kind of, when I got his book and he talked about it, like, what he kind of went through like later in the tour, how it became unbearable. But and again, I remember that, oh my gosh, like I remember like my feet were shaking, like how loud it was in there. It's just like in this massive stadium. But yeah, so Fly on the Wall, Stiff Upper Lip, and the Rocker Bus tour. Yeah, but those were my times seeing them. Yeah.
So my number one, I kind of knew what this was going to be. It's always been my favorite AC/DC song, probably ever since I first saw the video on Much Music. Uh, they used to play it a lot, and it's the only one of all of those old Australian videos that I ever saw on Much Music, and I'm talking about Jailbreak.
Oh yes.
I
Yeah.
mean, it's
Oh my
such a
God.
cool song, and the video, like I kind of can't hear the song without picturing the video, but the video is pretty literal to what the song is
Oh,
about.
so
And
great.
I couldn't get over how young Angus looked in that video. Like he
Yeah.
wouldn't have been very old. I think he would have been like maybe 20. I'm not sure. But
Yeah.
uh but Bond standing there like just, so much attitude and there's kind of acting in the video,
Yeah.
like he escapes and then they shoot him in the back. That whole section is just
Yeah.
so
That great. That
on the
great
edge of
scene.
your seat with
Yeah.
that bass, like the pulse.
Yeah.
He's like hot beat, like I just love it. So I always knew that would be my
Oh, what
top
a
song, Jailbreak.
great song. Yeah. Fantastic. Yeah.
I mean, we could easily list, 20 more and some more honorable mentions in there.
Oh my
There'd
gosh. Yeah.
be good stuff. It's just a testament to a great band. Yeah.
Mm.
It's funny. I could have gone to see them on the Rocker Bus tour because they were playing not too far from me, the same place that I saw them on the Black Ice tour. And I kind of wish I did, but at the same time, I was like, and I saw them, and there were some other things that were going, like financial. I couldn't really afford to go, but sometimes I kind of wish, yeah, I should have gone. This is the last time they'll probably be anywhere close to my area, but yeah, no, then they were great, and that's the other thing I remember about when I saw them in 2009. It was loud, but it wasn't painful loud. It was a
Yeah.
nice, warm, like it filled the sound. It was an outdoor gig, so it filled everything, but you could make everything out clearly and it didn't hurt your ears to listen
Yeah.
to.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah. Great stuff. Yeah.
So there you go. That's Ches and my lists of top 10 AC/DC songs. What are yours? List them in the comments. Love to read those comments. And yeah, those deep cuts out and let this be a public service announcement. Go listen to Power Ranger Flick of the Switch if you haven't heard it. And if you haven't heard Power Up, the most recent album, you got to go listen to that. We did a review episode of that. You should check that out. And yeah, we'll have Ches back on for episodes. But for now, thanks everybody for watching this edition of Tim's Vinyl Confessions. Thanks, Ches, for sitting in again,
Thank you, Tim. Pleasure. Thank
and
you very much.
we'll see you later. And go listen to some AC.